I guess there's been no strategy. So I went in thinking, the first year, I don't want to be great. Like, if I even get to good, I'm going to be so happy. Now that sounds like I'm settling for average, or that I'm not ambitious. Wrong. I just wanted to create the maximum space that I could move around in, learn, explore, prove myself, build up a basic library of experience, and say that I've done a good job to then build excellence on top of that. And I think sometimes people try and jump in head first, and that's not always the smartest way of doing it. You want the flashy cars, you want to work with the big companies, you want the huge contracts. That cripples people. And I think for me, I had a very modest interpretation of growth, and actually didn't have any targets, which sometimes goes against what I actually promote. I always say, if you don't have goals in life, how do you know when you've scored? However, there's also something about saying, if you don't give yourself too much pressure, actually you start to really learn, you really feel and see your organisation. And something I always hear about is building great partnerships, and the most important partnership you can build is with yourself and your own business. So I gave myself a bit of incubation space to get to know myself and my own business. That's not what happened though. We ended up being very successful very quickly, working with some of the leading organisations in the country in our sector, some of the biggest youth charities, some of the most well-known brands in financial services, and word of mouth spread. They say that quality and authenticity and excellence is magnetic, and that's kind of what happened. So we were growing through demand. We weren't demanding to grow, which is a very luxurious problem to have. But also knowing when to say no to certain projects was very critical as well. So we started off really small. We were in tiny little communities in the middle of England, doing school-based stuff with 20, 30 kids, and that's all I'd do for 2-3 weeks. Then before I knew it, we were speaking in front of conferences of thousands of people in far-flung parts of the world, from Connecticut, USA to Sri Lanka, speaking about what we do, delivering leadership training, working with the highest echelons of organisations and companies and governments, and that was really kind of overnight. That was by complete demand, not design. But we still want to stay small. I have no hunger to be the biggest organisation in the world. I have no hunger as such to, we will make money and we will stay in profit, and we stayed in profit from the first month. And we've never deviated from that, and I think that's sometimes unique as well. What is the phrase that someone once said to me? They say, it's turnover is vanity, but margin is sanity. And my bit of advice is, don't try and say, oh yes, we've got a £300,000 turnover in our first 2 years. Do you know what? Yes, but if it cost you 400 grand, you're fooling yourself, you're not identifying the problems, you're denying failure, you're not giving yourself space to learn, and your ego is going to crumble your business. Whereas I was really clear, okay, turnover's not the biggest in the world, and it never will be, but our margins at 70-80%, or we've got this client that's going to lead into this next year, or 60% of what we're doing is repeat business. So there's smart ways, rather than just ways that look good, to start to really have a health check for your business and how you operate. And we've grown both in terms of scale, but also in terms of quality, maturity, reputation. So don't just measure in terms of finance. Our social return on investment is something that's really important to us as well. And actually this year, so far, we are smaller in terms of delivery than we were last year, but feel so much more secure in what we're doing, so much more on top of our finances, reaching so many more people, but we're just doing it in a much smarter way. So growth for us is very multifaceted. I would say the way to grow or keep your business secure is be adaptable. I promise you it's not going to happen the way you think it is. Whatever you write is kind of like scenario planning, or like anticipated growth, or like identified key clients. That's not what's going to happen. You have to be, sometimes being an entrepreneur is like being in a society that's full of big ferries or barge ships, and you're the jet ski going through the middle of them. And I very much feel like the jet ski. And if you keep moving and you're like, okay, my strategy is to go through all these barges or ferries in this way, but then a ferry deviates a tiny bit, you're toast, you're gone. Next wave, pardon the pun, the next wave comes in and takes over. But if you can say, okay, I'm just going to go wherever the water's clear, wherever the opportunities arise, wherever the sun is setting, then actually what you're doing is being very agile, very responsive. And that's key to growth. You have to go where the opportunity is, you have to follow the wave, but you also have to take risks and be bold. But I'd say also, as you do that, keep your costs low. Don't try and buy a big sexy office in the first 6 months. Like, don't expect that you're going to go and like live in a mansion and be like Mark Zuckerberg, and like don't expect that don't go to all these champagne dinners that I'm running the company now, this one's on me. Say no, you can't do that. Because people think, oh, you've got lots of money because you're an entrepreneur. Well, that happens, but that's stage 2, that's success 2. That's when the successes happen, not when you're making it. Actually, sometimes you don't have money because you're an entrepreneur, or because you're investing that. Now, I've been I've been extremely fortunate in that I have run a company by design to have my overheads very, very low. We're selling the expertise of people. We're selling a message. We're selling an idea. We're selling theory. We're selling intellectual property, I guess. So there's no huge overheads for that. There's bits and bobs, there's staffing structures, there's transportation, there's a basic office space when and if we need it, which has come and gone actually. At the minute we have no physical office, but there's times where we've had an office with 15 people sitting around desks. It really varies. So give yourself a chance to pivot and learn from that as well. And don't be addicted to growth just on size and scale. How else are you growing? Who are you speaking to? How are you learning? How well do you know your customer? Grow your awareness of people. I think that's really important as well.